No, this is cool. I mean, I only asked because I remember my brother being in a group home, right, and what that
Mm,
actually looked like. So I asked those questions because I think I told you I was adopted. So we talk about a lot of kids. Biological mom had 10 kids,
mhm,
and we're all kind of spread out in the sense. Luckily, my aunt that adopted me and two other siblings, but there's other siblings that we never got to see
mhm.
because once they're adopted by someone else or once they're in the system, you don't know about that individual anymore.
Right.
And we were just actually talking about, some of these siblings that we just don't know.
Mhm,
One day we could really come across a sibling and don't even know it's our sibling.
mhm.
And it's really sad to know that that's just what happens when we get put into the systems. Kind of where you, going back to what you mentioned that being 18 years old, like no one knows. Yeah, it's so hard. Like you think you know it, and you're 18 years old, and I was one of those at 18 years old. I wanted to leave home. And I remember as
Mhm,
soon as I graduated high school, I left home. And it was tough, and there's so many things that I had to really learn just by failing at times. But if we can really prepare our young adults to live on their own, what it actually looks like to pay their own bills, what it look like to save money. Like there's that financial part that we don't know as much either.
mhm,
And for whatever reason it may have been, whether the school system has failed us, whether home has failed us. There's so many things to really learn. I love that you guys are really pouring into that, into
mhm.
what it looks like when a child is aging out and not just leaving them high and dry. Because a lot of times that's just kind of what happens to
Exactly.
people when they age out. So you
What's
guys are
the biggest
definitely.
thing that you learned at that time? I mean, that's so compelling hearing you talk about leaving home at 18, right? Because we all want to be independent, and or maybe we don't all want to be independent, but I wanted to be
Well,
independent.
Jill, I did. I definitely did want to be independent because me being adopted, I was at home feeling like I felt unloved. I felt unseen at times. I felt the difference of how she was raising her own kids versus us.
Oh,
And now, as an adult, I just realized she did the. And this is one of the things she mentioned to me, and I thank her for this. Was I did the best I could with what I knew. She was also a young mom. I mean, late 20s, mid 20s. She already had 7 kids, four of her own, and took on three of her sisters. So, this is someone that moved from Lawrence, where it was nothing but gangs, down to Florida with 7 kids for a
mhm.
better life. Like when you think about it, and me being a parent, I understand. And I am thankful. Even though so many things were happening in my life, this is a mom that did this by herself. She didn't have to take on her sister's kids, but she felt compelled to do so. So I knew I wanted to leave at 18, and I never looked back. And was there was times that maybe I struggled a little bit, yeah, but I was also one of those fortunate ones that at 19 years old, I was already running a sub shop making $50,000 a year. That's not everybody's story, right? But it was kind of going back to what you mentioned was someone believed in me. It was a new supervisor that walks in and sees Efrain and his work ethic at 18 and seeing him all day. And a lot of it was because I didn't want to be home. So I'd rather have worked, right? I felt more comfortable at work. I feel like I can be myself. I had so much energy. It's not like I can do after school program. So there was a lot of reasons I was there at work. Plus, I didn't have a home to go to,
Right.
right? I told you I left home at 18 years old. So there was just a lot of factors for me on what I felt like. I just felt like I grew. All that was just really learning lessons. And I talk about financial situations because I remember making all this money. And every week, Jill, I'll go buy me 2 pair of shoes. I'm buying this. But in reality, I should have been able to invest in a home and a new car. I was still driving a 94, Honda Civic. But no one told me how to save money or where to utilize the money. So I love that you guys are mentioning that. Just that is we're setting them up for what life has to offer. I even go back to a friend that I had that him and his sister were separated. So he felt like he was kind of on his own at times. And when I found out he was 18, still living in a home with 4 other foster kids, and at 18 years old, they start to receive these checks, ideally, as long as they're in school. So when I found out she was charging him $500 when he was only getting $1,000, it bothered me, you know. So I had rented a 5 bedroom house at 19 years old, and I said, "Hey, just move in with me. I'll charge you $300. You have your own room, but you have to go to school and get a job. I'll help you get a job." And I did. I helped him get a job. I was like his legal guardian, even though I was like a year, 2 years older than him, because I just had this. I was forced to grow up, right, Jill? And then you hear that a lot. I was forced to grow up, and just seeing what that looked like, me just being a part of his life and how he changed his life and how he did go to school And then when I wasn't part of his life, how his life changed and he's no longer with
I'm
us,
sorry.
right? It's having someone that believes in you is so crucial in life. And I even kind of go back to the people that are working for you in these villages.
Hmm.
Like, how do you empower them to be that one person? 'Cause I think that's important as well, right? It's not just a job. You got to be that person. How do you empower them to do that?
Well, it's such a great question because there's so much to what you just said. I think a lot of it is also believing in them, um,
Hmm.
and making sure they feel that, right? So uh, you're running the household, so you run the household, right? No one want We don't want to be micromanaging, so it's also having faith and trust with strong systems, because child protection, of course, is the number one thing that we do. If someone is in our
Hmm.
care, then we have to make sure that everything is as it should be. So there is, oversight, of course, and yet the power to raise the children as within the guidelines that we provide and that we have to follow. So it's one of those places of tension, and I think it could be with any employee, or even what you were talking in about with the young man, slightly younger than you, man, that you brought into your home. Um, Finding that right place for that right individual to thrive is going to be very different, because listening to your story, what you needed to thrive was different than what he needed. So I think the most important thing we can do is really pay attention to each and every person that we're working with, and begin to understand as best we can what they need, so that they can develop their full potential and they can feel proud and happy with the work that they're doing, because they're going to be better at the work that they're doing, and the children that they're raising are going to be better for that. And so there's no, for me anyway, I haven't found one blanket approach that works, because
Yeah.
what I need and what works for me won't be what you need or what's effective for you. So that to me is on each and every leader to really listen and pay attention and know that we're not the audience. Each person is individual. You started with that about people feeling and being seen and heard. Um, to me, those aren't just empty words. There's a lot more behind that that really
Yeah.
that really motivates who we are and helps us become the best that we can be.